Hi, this is Chris Peterson from Intermountain MLS, and this is the Paragon Basic class. We're going to look at searching, printing, and emailing in Paragon Connect. Now, there's a couple different ways to get to Paragon Connect. From the MLS Gateway page, you have the Paragon Connect icon here. If you go to Paragon Classic, you can click on Paragon Connect right here as well to get to Paragon Connect. Paragon Connect is both the desktop and mobile version of the MLS system. Paragon Connect has been around for a few years, but it's where Paragon is moving. And eventually, Paragon Classic will be retired and everything's going to be in Paragon Connect. So this morning, we're looking at searching, printing, and emailing. We'll also talk about the dashboard, and we'll look at some of the settings as well. So let's start talking about the Paragon Connect dashboard here. So up in the top right, you have two icons. You've got the messages icon, which would be for messages from the system. So like if you have a listing that's going to expire or a search that was set up for a contact that needs to be renewed, those would be the messages you would see. And then we have the customized dashboard icon. This lets you customize the widgets that are on the dashboard here. And I'll click on the customized dashboard icon and we'll talk about the widgets that I'm not using. And then we'll talk about the widgets that I have on my dashboard a little bit later. So first, the only primary widget currently is buyer activity. As time goes on, there may be other primary widgets available, but right now it's just the buyer activity. So if you don't want to see it, you can hide it. And then the widgets that I am showing, I have the hot sheet alert widget, the resource links, the quick actions, the my inventory, the unread comments, my last 5 searches, my saved searches, and unpublished or partial purge alert. To add additional widgets, you just click on Add, and these are the widgets that I don't have. Property Watches, which Property Watch lets you look for public records changes, and as Idaho is a non-disclosure state, there aren't really any Property Watch details to view. Listing Cards lets you have a widget for your listing cards, which we'll talk more about listing cards later on. Latest listing edits, that lets you see any listings that you've recently entered or maintained, and you can view those on a widget. Expiring tracker are your expiring listings. Pending tracker, of course, are your pending listings. Days on market shows you the days on market information, and you can click on the eye on any of these widgets to find out what they say. And like the days on market, for example, show your listings, your office listings, your brokerage listings, your firm listings. And then the sell side tracker is used if you have listings that are active. You can use them to get information about that property and have that right at your fingertips as a widget on the dashboard. And you want to remember that the widgets are not only for Paragon Connect on your computer, but also for Paragon Connect on your phone. And if you want to reorganize the widgets, you can always click and drag these and put them wherever you want them to be. So those are the two icons up here on the top right. Then we have the power search, which lets you search, like it says here, for addresses, listings, people, agents. And so you just type something in there. The thing to remember is that the most of something it can show you is 10. So if I come here and I type in Adams, it shows me some addresses with Adams in them, 10 listings with Adams in their name. Now, obviously, there are more than 10 listings. I have 2 contacts with Adams in their name, David Adamson and Ken Adams. There are more than 10 agents with Adams in their name, and so it's showing me just 10 of those. But for example, if I clicked on David Adamson, that would open his contact record and I could view that information. And so that's that power search. And in Paragon Connect, if I want to go back to the home page, there's 2 ways to do that. I can click on the menu and click on Dashboard, but I can also click on the back button, and that takes me back to where I just was in the power search. And then we have the Near Me search. The Near Me search lets you search for properties near you. For that to work, you have to have your location allowed in your browser or on your phone. And so we'll talk about the Near Me search a little bit later on, but that's the first time we're seeing it. So then we have the dashboard here, and I've got my buyer activity here with my fake buyers. And what you're seeing is their activity in the last 7 days. But it also shows you how many times they visited the Collab Center site in the last 30 days. And if you click here on Legend, it will tell you what those little circles mean. You've got favorite, possible, rejected, new comment, new saved search are all available there. And so let's say, for example, I wanted to see a new comment that was left by Ken Adams. I can click on that number 6. That brings up his contact record, and his unread comments are in bold. So I could come here and I could respond, when are you available? and then that response would be seen on the Collab Center for that contact. And so that's the buyer activity. And then I have the widgets that I have here. So I have my hot sheet alerts, which we'll talk more about those later on, but it's a way to find out what's going on in certain locations. Then we have the resource links, which are some links to some of the same tools that are on the gateway here on the MLS gateway. And if I go to expand, I can see those here, like Instanet, Form Simplicity, RPR are all here. And some of them, if you're on your phone, would make you log into the gateway. But if you've already logged into the gateway, it will take you right into them. Then I've got the quick actions, listings near me. That's the second time we've seen the near me search. Then we have the residential search, your saved searches, your listing cart, edit and create listings, and create a new CMA. That would be using the easy CMA right inside of Paragon Connect. And then we have the My Inventory showing your new active and pending listings in the last 3 months, expiring, sold, pending sales, expired listings. And then unpublished are your partial listings. So as I work at the MLS and I don't have any listings, I do have 8 unpublished listings that are right there. And then my last widgets that I have my unread comments. So I could come here and respond to a comment just like I had on that buyer section. Here are my last 5 searches. I can expand that and see all 5 of them. If I click on the criteria, that loads the criteria. If I click on the running man, that runs the search. And then I have my saved searches. If I click on view more, that brings up all my saved searches. If the search is assigned to a contact, their initials or their image will be here, and it will have their name. If it's not assigned to a contact, it's going to say your search and have your initials or your agent image. And you can click on the menu on the right to assign that to a contact or delete the search. If the search is assigned, you can click on the menu to unassign it or delete it. And then to go back to my dashboard, I can click on the menu and go to dashboard, or I can click on the back button and I'm back on the dashboard. And then I have my unpublished partials, the unpublished purge alert that's here. So that tells me how long I have until these listings are deleted. Partial listings are on the system for 1 year and then they're deleted. And they're only visible to you and your broker. No one else can see them. So that's the dashboard. And however you want to customize it, whatever works for you, just remember it's the same on your phone as on your computer. So on my computer, I've got 3 sections that I scroll through. On my phone, it's one long scroll with all those available widgets. So let's go over here to the menu on the left, and let's talk about the menu that's here. At the top, you've got your information. This is where if you assume someone's identity, you can do that. You also can log out here and get additional information about Paragon Connect. Then we have the menu. Dashboard, of course, brings you back to the dashboard. Properties takes you in to do property searches. And we'll come back and look at residential searches here in a little bit. But here we also have the near me search. If you're keeping track, that's the 3rd time we've seen the near me search. Then there's the hot sheet search, where you can search for listings that have had status or price changes. You can also set up the hot sheet alerts there. The tour and open house search. And then we have our property class searches, the photo match search, and then my saved searches and the last 5 searches again that we have here. So that's the property section. Then we have tax. This lets you search the Paragon tax information, but if you want more accurate tax information, up on the right, the tax integrations, the CRS tax data tax search is here, and that's updated more frequently. And so you can come here and you can search for any county in Idaho. We have Malheur County in Oregon and 3 counties in Washington, and any available property is there, not just listed properties. Then we have contacts. This is where you can view your contacts in Paragon Connect. To add a contact, you just click on the plus on the right, enter their information, and then they're in here as a contact. When you're viewing a contact or your contact list, if the phone icon is not grayed out, that means they have a phone number that's been added to their contact record. If the envelope is not grayed out, that means you can email them. If the envelope is highlighted, it means they've opted out. And when you click on that envelope, you can copy the opt-in link to opt them back in. Opting out happens if they've either actually opted out or if Paragon received a bounce back, it opts them out automatically. And then if there's a Collab Center icon, a little globe icon, that would take you to that person's Collab Center. And then you click on the contact record and you can view their information. If they're set up for the Collab Center, you can see their favorite possible rejected listings. Buyer activity is where all their searches are. If the search has their image or their initials, it's a search they created on the Collab Center. If it has your initials or your image, it's a search that you created. And again, you can see on each individual searches the undecided favorites, possible, rejected, and you can click on those to view them. If it's a search that you created, you can edit the search, delete the search, and have some other options here. If it's a search they created, you can't edit it here, but you can delete it. You can, however, edit it on the Collab Center when you go in there as the agent. Seller activity would let you assign a listing to them if you're a listing agent. Comments show the comments from the Collab Center. And again, the unread comments are in bold, and you can see how long ago they left those comments. The requested showings would be requested showings from the Collab Center. So when you have a buyer set up for the Collab Center, they can request a showing. That request goes to you, their agent, and then you would see that here. Message history are any emails or texts that were sent from the MLS. If it's a manual email, it'll have a person icon. If it's an automated email, it'll have a stopwatch. If you click on a manual email, you can see the email that was sent. You can click on the link and view it. If it was an automated email, you can click here and then click on the listing to view that information. So that's the message history. And then Easy CMA will be here if that contact is assigned to an Easy CMA. Then it shows the last time they were notified, when they accessed the Collab Center, their app invitation code for the Collab Center, and a way to send them that code. Their reverse prospecting ID, and then, of course, if they have a home address in there, and when they were created as a contact. So that contact information is all here. Up on the right, we've got the email, phone, Collab Center, invite to the consumer app, delete them, and edit is all available there. So that's the contact list. Easy CMA is where you can go in and create an Easy CMA. In the Paragon Advanced class, we cover Easy CMA, but you would see your created Easy CMAs here. The listing section is where input and maintenance takes place. They've recently updated the listing section in Paragon Connect to make it a lot more user-friendly and provide a lot more details to listing agents. There's a bunch of widgets here. You can go in and customize and add widgets to have on your listing input dashboard. So if you're a listing agent, it can be really useful to see the information that's here. And we talk about that more in the input and maintenance class. The roster lets you search for agents or offices. The resources section is like the resource link widget on the dashboard, but it just has some links here to go to other parts of the MLS. The system documents are just documents and folders that have been uploaded by the MLS. The website links are links the MLS has put in there, but you can also add links for yourself. Brokers can add links for your office. And then you've got links here from the MLS. So that's the website links under resources. Then you have links to the other tools, Instanet, Form Simplicity, Cloud CMA, and so forth. The next link that's here is statistics, and what that takes you into is Paragon Classic. So currently the statistics aren't part of Paragon Connect. They will be eventually, but for now, this is just a way to get to the statistics in Paragon to be able to use those. For example, if I wanted to come here and do a market statistics report, I could come here and create that statistical report. My content, this is where you can find your listing carts, property watches, message history, and requested showings. Listing carts show any listing cart you've created. Listing carts aren't a search. Listing carts just let you keep track of listings. So you add listings to a listing cart, and every time you view it, you'll see those listings. So for example, I have a listing cart that I created in spring of 2025. When I hit view, the two listings that were there that were active when I added them to my listing cart are no longer active. One is sold and one is canceled. So that's the listing carts. Property watches, again, doesn't get used very much because it's public record data. Message history shows any messages that were sent from the system to anyone, whether it's automated or manual. Manual ones have the person icon, automated have the stopwatch. And if you've texted from Paragon Connect, you'll have a text icon here indicating it was text that you've texted, because you can text from the system on your computer. If you text from your phone, it will go through your phone texting app, but you can also text from your computer and send a text from Paragon Connect. And then the requested showings show any requested showings that your clients on the Collab Center have requested from you. There's also a link here to Paragon Professional. So you remember in Paragon Professional, we had a link to Paragon Connect. In Paragon Connect, you have a link to Paragon Professional. So if you needed to go back to Professional, you could do that. The last part to look at here on the menu is Settings. And we'll just hit on a few of these settings really quick. First, you've got your agent image right here. You can just click on that upload photo, and you can add an agent image in there really quickly. And if you're on your phone, you can pull it from your phone camera, or your gallery. My profile, again, you have the agent image here. You can upload your office logo. Phone settings, it has the indication of what your phone number is and then your texting phone number. So the phone number that's here is used really in two places. When you text from your computer in Paragon Connect or Paragon Classic, that phone number is included in that text. And then when someone is looking at your listing information in Paragon Connect on their phone and they want to text you, this is the number that they are given to text you. So you want to make sure it's your mobile number. Change password. This lets you change your password for Paragon Connect. Now, we got into Paragon Connect from the Connect icon here. It didn't require a password. But if I'm logging in on my phone or I'm logging in directly into Paragon Connect, I'll need a password. And this is where I can update that. And it shows you what the password requirements are. And so you can change those if you need to. Email settings. Auto-populate your email. That's turned on to automatically include you as a BCC if you want. And then it shows if your email has been verified. Social media lets you put in your social media links to show up on your emails and on the Collab Center. And then your story has a place for a video link and a body of text that lets you include that information on the Collab Center. So that's the My Profile. System, you can change the result options. There are some Paragon accounts in Canada, so if you want to change yours to kilometers, you could do that. Time zone, you can choose your time zone. Some Intermountain MLS members are on the Pacific time zone, so this would allow them to change that if they wanted. Automated valuations. There are two different automated valuation tools that can be included in the reports you create. The easy value is from Paragon, and the Realtor's Valuation Model, or RVM, comes from Realtor's Property Resource, or RPR, and so you can turn those on or off to have them displayed throughout Paragon Connect, in Easy CMA, also on some of the Collab Center tools as well. Grant My Identity shows who can assume your identity in Paragon. Choose Theme lets you change your theme. You might notice that I do not have purple as my theme, so you can come here and change your color. The default theme for Paragon Connect is Plumtastical, but if purple is not your favorite color, you can come here and change it. The one I'm using is Ice Glacier. There's Green Smash. If you're at a national franchise, they have a list of those franchises here. So for example, if I was with Remax, that's what the Remax theme looks like. And if you have certain colors you want to use, you can do your own theme. You also can change the public facing theme, which would be the theme for the Collab Center. So if you wanted to change that theme for the Collab Center, you could do that as well. So that's the theme. You also can change the banner graphic. So for my Paragon Connect, my banner graphic is this picture of houses by a lake, but you could choose any banner that you want. Maybe you're excited for the holidays, or you can't wait until the 4th of July. So you could change your banner to what you want it to be. And just like we saw with the themes, you also can change the Collab Center banner graphic. So if I wanted my Collab Center graphic to be the one for the 4th of July, I can save that, and now on the Collab Center, that's what my people that use the Collab Center would see. So those are the theme. And you want to remember, and I'll probably say it a few times, if you change the theme, you're changing it for Paragon Connect on your phone as well. The last one here is reverse prospecting. It explains what reverse prospecting is, and if you don't want it on, you can turn it off. The thing to remember is that selling agent in the definition of reverse prospecting means listing agent. So reverse prospecting allows listing agents that have listings to contact agents with contacts and searches that match their listings. And so they just are able to contact the agent, and they don't see who the contact is. So that's the system settings. Collaboration Center, you can choose what can be displayed on the Collab Center about you and your brokerage. You can add additional links to the Collab Center, like maybe I want to add a link for social media on there. And then you can choose what can be searched for on the Collab Center. Mine is set up just for residential. Easy CMA, it just goes through the settings for Easy CMA. And in the Paragon Advanced class, we talk about that, but those settings are here. And then finally, the notification settings, you can choose what's going to notify you and what's going to notify your client. So you can come here and choose whatever notification settings you want. The top 6 that I don't have turned on have nothing to do with your client. They're just about searches. The bottom 5 are about your client. So just keep that in mind. And then the client notifications, you would probably want all those turned on. So those are the settings. So let's talk about searching. So I'm going to go here to the menu, go to properties, and bring up the residential search. Now, before we jump in and start looking at the criteria, let's talk about the logistics of this page. Up on the top left, you've got the name of the search and the count for the current search. I don't really have any criteria, so there's over 600,000 listings here. But as you enter criteria, that count updates to show you how many matches you have. Over on the right, we've got the floppy disk to save our search, the find fields to let you find a field, and that really is useful on a mobile device. But if I don't know, for example, where subdivision is, instead of scrolling through trying to find it, I can come here and start typing in subdivision, and there it is. So it's just a way to find a field. Then we have the criteria summary, which will show us the criteria that we're using. We'll see that here in a few minutes. My saved searches would bring up our saved searches again. The last 5 searches brings up the last 5 searches. And then on the right, the little menu here is customize fields. Now on your phone, you may not see all of these icons. You may have to go to the more menu to see them. It just depends on the size of your screen. And then here we have the criteria. Now, one difference with the criteria in Paragon Connect over Paragon Classic is it's 2 columns instead of 1. But when you're searching, there are a lot of similarities here. For example, when I want to select criteria, I can come here and I can start typing in what I want, or I can click on the magnifying glass. The thing you want to remember is that Paragon is not intuitive. It's not going to guess what you mean. So if I come here and I start typing in active, there's active and all active. If I just pick active, that's totally fine. But listings are entered as new or back on market typically. They don't become active until day 4. So if you only have active selected, you're telling the system, I want listings that are 4 days old or older. So if you want all the actives, you'd want to select all the actives. And I'm going to do all the actives, all the solds, and all the pendings. So when we get to our listings, I'll have some different statuses to view. If I go here to type, I can again start typing in what I want, or I can click on the magnifying glass. So let's say I only want single family, which would be properties on a foundation less than 1 acre. And then I've got county and city that are here. So we'll come here to city. Let's say I want to look in Meridian, since I'm in Ada County this morning. And then we have price. To enter prices in Paragon Connect, you enter the entire price. The last 3 zeros aren't there. So maybe my price range is $545 to $689. So now that's my price range. And you'll notice my count drops dramatically from where it was before, over 600,000. Now I'm down to just under 5,000. Maybe I need to have at least 4 beds, at least 2.5 baths. That'll drop my count as well. And then maybe my square footage range, 1,400 to 2,400. Now, I haven't put any dates in there, and the MLS sold data goes back 20 years. So if I don't want 20 years of sold data, I would need to put a closing date in there. And you can do that by actually clicking on the calendar, or you can click on the advanced options, and I can choose from the preset choices. So maybe I only just want to go 6 months back. So now my count has dropped to 154. I can put year built in there, but I don't want new construction for my search. So I'm going to come here to age, and I can click on the magnifying glass and select the ages that I want. But I also can select the ages that I don't want. So I'm going to select the 3 new construction fields and hit apply, and then come here to the advanced options and change that to not equal to. So now my count drops down to 68 because I'm getting properties in Meridian that are not new construction, that match the other criteria that I have. I could put a number of acres or land size or subdivision or an address if I wanted. So then we have the features, and the features have three separate sections: must have, must not have, must have one or more. And so if you're in any of these sections, that's the way you're using that feature item. If you click on the magnifying glass, that brings up all the features. So let's go here to cooling, for example. So here's all the cooling: the must have, must not have, must have one or more. And if I mark must have, every listing that matches has to have that. So if I need to have air conditioning on listings and I choose central air, ductless mini split, and window wall unit, then only listings that have all three of those would be in my search, which will probably be none. But if I change that to must have one or more, now it can be variables. It can have any combination of those three. So I'm going to add that to my search. And there are a lot of features you can put in there, but that's how the must have, must not have, and must have one or more work. Then we have school district and assigned schools. We have occupied by, the public and agent remarks. Everything works together in your search, you want to remember. And then we have the distressed property fields: short sale, foreclosure, bank owned, auction, HUD owned. We have the listing agent, listing office, selling agent, and selling office. So I've got some criteria in there. I've got 68 listings that match my search. I'm pretty happy with that. Now, before we run this search, let's go back here and talk about the menu at the top. The first thing to talk about is the criteria summary. So there's a lot of criteria on here and a lot that I didn't use. If I click on the criteria summary, what that does is it removes what I didn't use and only retains what I have selected. So I've got an item in the features, I've got age, and so forth here. And so I'm only seeing those criteria items. If I click on the criteria summary again, then it expands and shows me everything. So it's a good way to verify you've got everything you want before you run your search. And then if I wanted to save my search, I can just come in here and hit save the floppy disk and give it a name. So maybe I want to call this Meridian June 2026. And then if I wanted to assign it to a contact, I could do that, but I'm just going to save it. So I hit save. And now instead of saying residential default, it says Meridian June 2026. So now when I hit search, that brings up my listings. Now there's a search by map icon on the criteria screen, but you can also do the search by map after you run your search. It's the same place. Now we'll talk about this thumbnail view here in a minute, but let's go to talk about the map. So if I go here to the views menu, here is map right here, and this is where the map search would take you. And so here it's showing me all the listings that match my search. Well, maybe my clients want to live in Meridian, if I'm an agent with clients, but they don't want to live north of 2026 or south of 84. So they want to live in this middle area. So I can easily draw a shape here. I just click on the shape icon, the little drawing tools over here. And I'm just going to draw a rectangle because that's pretty easy. So I just click in one corner, drag to the opposite corner, and now it's going to use that shape for my search. And you'll notice the listings that were north of 2026 and south of 84 are gone. If I wanted to add that to my saved search, I could hit save search to do that. And if I zoom in, then the little red circles start going away because that only indicates there's multiple properties there, but I start seeing the listings and I can click on a listing to view it. If I wanted to edit the shape, there's a shape icon down here on the bottom left, and I can click edit, and I can edit the shape, I can delete it, whatever I want to do. So we'll delete that. And now I'm back to my search with all those circles again. Also on the map search is the layers. So if I click there, I've got the different layers that are available, and I could add those in as well. But I'm happy with my search that I've got. So I'm going to go back here to the views menu, and let's go back to the thumbnail, the initial view that comes up when you run your search. And here I'm looking at the properties. I've got a lot of information about the properties here. If I want to change how they're sorted, I can click on the A to Z sort button up here. And maybe I want to sort them by price, descending. So I hit apply. And now it's going to sort them by price. So 682, 665, 650, and so forth. And then if I go to the views menu, I have other options here. We already talked about the map view. The result analytics takes the search you ran and runs an analytical report. So here we've got the criteria summary with all the criteria I've entered. We've got the total number of listings, the days on market information, price per square foot, sale to list ratio if I have solds in there, the list price analytics, the sold price analytics, and then the listings by status. So I've got 19 actives, 39 solds, and 8 pendings in my search. And if I wanted to generate a PDF of this, maybe I want to present this market report, I can hit generate report, and that'll generate a PDF that I can download and save to share with my clients. And it gives the criteria there at the bottom. So that's the result analytics. The CMA summary takes the listings you've run a search for and it organizes them by status. So there's my actives, and then it gives me the minimum, average, maximum, and median for different fields on the right side. On the solds, it gives me the same thing, but includes sold price and sold price per square foot. And then, of course, the pendings are there. And then I can go here to the views. And then we have spreadsheets. So the spreadsheets in Paragon Connect aren't connected to spreadsheets in Paragon Classic. So you have the ability to customize them however you want them to be. So when your spreadsheet comes up to customize it, there is this customize button right up here on the right, and it lets you choose what fields you want to have in here. And so if I want to add a field, like I could come here and click the plus, and I could select from any field that's here. I can search for a field, like maybe I want to add in a room level or garage information. I can add anything I want in there. And if there's a field that you don't want, you can just deselect the field and hit save. And then that removes it from your search, from your spreadsheet. And if your spreadsheet is set the way that you want, but now you want to have an additional one, you can go here to the views menu and you can copy that spreadsheet and have up to 5 different spreadsheets. And they can all be customized separately. And if I want to sort the way my spreadsheet is, when I go to customize, it lets me choose the sort option. So if I want to sort by subdivision, I hit save. And now that sorts it by whatever I've selected. Now I'm sorting by subdivision, or I could click any of the other ones if I want to do that. And then a spreadsheet is really useful, especially if you're trying to select multiple properties. I can come here and select them if I want to email them or I want to use them. If I want to export them to somewhere else, like Cloud CMA, or add them to an easy CMA or print, I can do that easily. And on my spreadsheet, I can click on the little arrow here and I can do show checked to show me just those I've selected, so the other listings go away. Or I can go back here to display all, and I can display all of them. And then, of course, if I click on the X, that will let me deselect those. So let's click on a property here. Click on the picture. That brings up the detail view. So the detail view has the property here. I can scroll through the pictures. I can click on the media gallery to bring up all the picture information. I can view the descriptions if they put those in there. I can view the map. In Paragon Connect, they have the aerial flyover. So I can see where that property is and see the surrounding area. I also can view any documents they've uploaded. They uploaded the property disclosure, so I can see that. And then as I scroll down, there's the property details, and there's quick links right here to book an appointment with Broker Bay, to create a CMA in Cloud CMA, create a flyer in Cloud CMA, or to view the tax information with the CRS Data Property Report. So here's the tax information for this property on Fieldstone. It's got the owner information, sales history if it's available, the tax assessment, tax history, mortgage history if it's available, and all the other property information that's here. And then as I scroll down, there's all the property information. And then we have the features, the public and agent remarks, the financial information. There's the agent information, the documents, the property history. So this listing was also listed back in 2018 and 2015 and all the way back to 2013. Public record information that is available, they'll have that here from Paragon. And then we've got the valuation. So here's the easy value and the RVM value from Paragon and from RPR. There's a mortgage calculator, buyer demand. If you enter and maintain your own listings, buyer demand lets you see how many contacts with searches in the system matches property. And then community reports uses the zip code to give you community data. And then up on the right, we have some icons here. We've got the find icon to let you find a field. So again, maybe I'm looking for the owner information. So like here, it says occupied by owner. I can see that. Or I can make this agent recommended for someone on my collab center. I select my contact and it will send it to them. I could add it to a listing cart and select one of my listing carts to add that to. I can see if it matches any of my current contacts with searches. For me, it does not. And then we have the third-party integrations. Third-party integrations in Paragon Classic are the little icons on the full detail. In Paragon Connect, it's a list of those same icons and their labels. So here I have all these different tools that can be used. There's the CRS data, property report again, RPR is here. So there's other links that are available from here I can just click on. If I click on Instant Edit Form Simplicity, that would take me in to create a transaction for this property. And then on the menu on the right, I could print this. If I go to print, I can print this Connect view. I can print a public Connect view or the client or full detail from Paragon Classic. I can do driving directions, and then the report listing issue is the corrections button. So if there's an issue with the listing, I can reach out to the MLS corrections team and let them know what's wrong with the listing. If I wanted to email or share the listing, I can click on the share button right here, and I have some options. Share with the public, and if you click on the little eye here, it tells you that's to share a client-friendly view, or share with members, which lets you share a link to Paragon Connect that includes the agent information. And they would have to have a login to Paragon Connect to view it. So an agent is the only one who these share with members will work for, agent or someone who's a member of the MLS. If I wanted to email this listing, I would click on email and put in the person's email address. If the person is one of my contacts, I can start typing in their name or their email address, give them a subject. Here is a listing. If I want to put a message in there, I can. Here you go. And then when I send it, it gives me a confirmation it's been sent. And this is what the email looks like when they get it. So we'll go here to my fake person's email. So here's the email right here. Here's a listing. It's got my company logo there. There's my agent image and my contact information and my social media information. And there's the message I wrote. And then they click on the listing, and that opens it up in a client-friendly view. And I'm on a large screen device, so of course it's going to fit the screen that I'm on. People always ask, how do I know that it's client-friendly? Well, if I go here to show more, you'll notice there's no agent remarks under the public remarks. The other thing that can be done is a majority of the links that are shared from our MLS system are opened on mobile devices. And so if I make this the size of a mobile device, this is how it would look for them. One of the statistics we got from Paragon recently said that over 90% of the links that are shared from our MLS system are opened on mobile devices. So if I go back here to the share, I also could text this. To text it, the person has to be one of your contacts in Paragon. I could add a contact on the fly, but I can't just type in a number. So then I would select my contact, select their phone number, put a message in there if I want, and then I can hit send. And it sends them a text. So just to show you what that looks like, here in Paragon Connect, if I go back down here to the My Content, where we were before, and I go here to Message History, there's the text that was just sent. There's the link, and you'll notice this is the same link we just saw before. That client-friendly view of that property on Fieldstone. And so you can text or you can email from Paragon Connect. And then, of course, you can just copy the link if you want to share it some other way. And so that's working with the listings in Paragon Connect when you run your search. And if I click on the back button up here on the left, I'm back on my spreadsheet. I could also go back here to the thumbnail view if I want to view the thumbnail reports. This also makes it easy to select multiple properties. If I select multiple properties and I go to the share icon, now I'm texting, emailing, or sharing a link for multiple properties. So whether you're doing one property or 3 properties or 10 properties or whatever it is, you can easily do that from Paragon Connect. So that's running a search and sharing those listings. So let's talk about a few other things here. So I'm going to click on the menu here again and go back to properties. So one thing to talk about before we go to the near me search and the hot sheet search is the photo match. So photo match lets you upload a photo and find properties that have that characteristic. It's also available to clients in the Collab Center. So it explains how it works. You come here, hit choose photo. I'm going to find the photo that I want to use. I think I have photos saved here somewhere. There we go, photo match search. I'm going to do a covered patio. And now it's going to find properties that have covered patios. Now, there is no other criteria used. That's why you'll see properties from Burley to Middleton to Nampa to Fruitland to Cuna on this list, or Emmett or Twin Falls. So what you can do is you can go up here to the map on the right, and then you can drill down and zoom in to a property in the location where you want to be. Let's say I want to look at the properties that are in Nampa that have this. And so I could come here, click on this property in Nampa. And if I go to the pictures, there's our covered patio that the photo search found. So that's the photo search. Back to properties. The next one to talk about is the near me search. Now, the near me search can be done here. It also can be done a couple places on the dashboard. There on the power search or here under the listings near me on the quick actions. When you go to the near me search, so let's go to the near me search. When you go to the near me search initially, the default is everything in the MLS. You want to remember that when you're using it. So right now I'm seeing a lot of listings around our building here in Boise, which don't have that many active listings. And so if you want to make your near me search show you actives, you can come here to the filter up on the top right and choose just active status, which is what I'm going to do, all the actives. Now, if you want to make that the default, before you hit apply, then come up here to save. And instead of saving the search like we saw earlier, I'm just going to hit save default template. And now when I hit save, that default template is only going to show me active listings. And so if I get out of this, let's go back to properties, and I go to the near me search again. Instead of showing all of these properties, it's only going to try to show me actives, which there are no active listings near where I am. But if I move my map west, we'll move quite a bit west here to some residential areas, listings are going to start appearing on my map. And then I can click on a listing to view that information. So now that near me search is only looking for active properties, which is going to emulate what a lot of consumer tools do that look for active listings. And so you want to remember, if that near me search is showing you too much, go up to that filter and either select the actives for the current time you're using it or set it as your default. So every time you come here, it only shows you actives. And again, that'll apply to Paragon Connect on your phone as well. Back here to properties. The next one to talk about is the hot sheet. So in Paragon Classic, we have the market monitor on the right. The hot sheet search can let you do some of the same things, but even be more specific. So if I go to the hot sheet, I can choose what I want this hot sheet search to show me. And if I'm trying to emulate the market monitor, the number of days back for the market monitor is 1. And then I can choose what I want my market monitor to look for, what I want my hot sheet search to look for. So maybe what I'm looking for are new, price change, and back on market listings all together instead of having to do them separately. And then I can come here to criteria and put exactly what I want. So maybe I only want residential. Maybe under type, I only want single family. So I could come here and start typing in single family. RE single family is residential, where RN is residential income. And maybe this time I want to look in Boise. And maybe my price range is going to be $565 to $750. And so now what I'm looking for are properties that are in Boise that are single family between the price range of $565 and $750 that are price change, new, or back on market in the last 1 day. And currently the count says 22. If I hit search, I would see those. But if I want to make this a hot sheet alert that I can see repeatedly anytime I log in or I'm on the dashboard, then I can click here on save to do that. And so let's say we're going to call this Boise New Bomb PC. And if you click on the little I next to hot sheet alerts, it tells you what those are. So I'm going to save this as a hot sheet alert. And you can have, like it says here, you can have up to 10 hot sheet alerts. So now when I save it and I hit search, now I'm going to see those 22 listings that are new, back on market, and price change in the last day. So there are those listings. And of course, I can come here to the view and change it to my spreadsheet or whatever I want. But now when I go back to my dashboard, here are my hot sheet alerts. And there's that Boise one that I just did. And you'll notice it says 0 because since I viewed it, there have been no new changes. But I viewed, today is June 12th, so 3 days ago, I viewed this one in Nampa. And since I last viewed it, there have been 83. So when I click on that, I'm going to see those 83 new listings. And so that's how the hot sheet alerts work. It's a way to keep tabs on what's going on. And you can also go here on the hot sheet alert widget and manage your hot sheets, change the sorting, everything there. So that's the hot sheet alerts. So I hope this has helped you. This is the Paragon Basic class. Have a great day.